There's a fascinating new bill which was introduced in the Senate in 2021, which relates to establishing a framework for a guaranteed livable basic income, sometimes known as universal basic income. The thinking is that if every Canadian was guaranteed a livable basic income, then we could lift millions of Canadian families out of poverty and make life more affordable for Canadians who are struggling. And with inflation and the rising cost of housing, and with wages not rising at the same pace, many more Canadians are struggling more now than ever before. However, some critics feel that basic income would be a form of socialism with wealth redistribution, and that it may disincentivize people from working. Well, is guaranteed livable basic income the solution to poverty in Canada? Or are we just creating new programs that will do more of the same and perhaps at a greater cost to the taxpayer? Well, joining me now to discuss the merits of such a program is the author of the bill, S 2233, Senator Kim Pate. Senator, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today to go over the merits of this bill. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate you covering it.
So, I gave a very rough overview of basic income, but perhaps for our viewers who may not be as familiar with the concept, could you explain what a program like this seeks to do and what it could do?
Sure. Well, as a senator, I can't introduce in a private bill a bill that would cost the government money. So it's a piece of framework legislation. And what it would anticipate is that we would bring together the federal government, the provincial territorial government, some municipal governments, because there are many who are interested in this as well as Indigenous governance bodies. Because what we know is there right now are many income programs. We already have kinds of basic income programs already. The Canada Child Benefit is like part of this, the Guaranteed Income Supplement for seniors, and we're waiting for the disability benefit to be introduced. We also know that during the pandemic, the employment insurance benefits, which were set up to deal with when people were suddenly out of work, that wasn't fit for purpose, could not respond, and they had to use Revenue Canada rules. So one of the things we're looking at is, could we be looking at improving the delivery of the income supports component without diminishing the other supports? And so, as you mentioned at the outset, some critics say this would disincentivize work. In fact, those are individuals who don't know much probably about our current social assistance systems, which are the biggest disincentives to work now. Because once you're on social assistance, a couple of things are true. One, nowhere in this country can you survive on it. Two, if you work more than a certain number of hours or make a certain amount of money, it differs from province and to province and territory, you end up being cut off of the assistance, or your things like your drug benefits may be cut off, or your dental benefits. So in fact, the current systems are the disincentives to work. And I was just up north 2 weeks ago, and I was reminded of this when I was talking to people who talk about the fact that there are no jobs in their communities. They want to go out. They want to do either entrepreneurial work. One person was talking about doing dog sled trips and being able to charge tourists for those. Others were talking about ecotourism businesses. They can't do it because if they go out doing that work and are not therefore available to work, even though there are no jobs available, then they risk being cut off benefits. And we saw that we've seen that throughout the term throughout time since we developed social assistance schemes and made them more linked to work. We actually created disincentives to work. The other thing is people say, well, it won't assist inflation, it won't assist housing or homelessness. That's partially true, although as Dr. Jiaying Zhao at UBC has shown in the cash transfer she's doing with homeless people in Vancouver, that in fact, within 3 months of receiving the cash transfers, the majority of people are not only housed, but within 12 months, many are working. So we
Wow.
see that, in fact, providing resources up front without those strings attached can help people get on their feet. We also saw what was very interesting and surprised a lot of people was that even people who had addictions, their spending on what she referred to them. I'm trying to remember what she referred to them as, but basically alcohol, drugs, and cigarette
Mhm.
expenses went down. And so we saw that people actually spent money, used substances
Right.
less when they actually had a home and when they had the possibility of looking for work
I'm going
and
to pause you
also
there.
receive work.
We've got to go to commercial. We'll be right back.